When we look around, it's easy to notice how most people live trapped in a kind of invisible programming, a perception that screams, there's not enough. Not enough money, not enough opportunities, not enough time, not enough love. And that not enough becomes a mental cage, a silent prison that shapes every thought, every decision, and every result. But here comes the first revelation Napoleon Hill wanted us to understand deeply. Abundance is not a luxury. It's your natural state. Look at nature. A single tree can produce over 10,000 seeds in one season. A river flows effortlessly. It doesn't worry about how much water it's giving away. The sun never questions who it should shine on and who it shouldn't. Abundance is the language of creation. And you, as part of that same universal intelligence, were never created for lack. You were created to experience fullness in every area of your life. But if you were born for abundance, why do you sometimes feel so empty? Because you were taught to look outward, to believe abundance was something to reach, to earn, to fight for, when in reality, abundance is a state of consciousness, not a goal. It's a way of seeing life, interpreting it, relating to it. And when that way changes, everything changes. Napoleon Hill said it plainly. Thoughts are things, and the things you think tend to become your reality. This means, if your thoughts vibrate on the frequency of scarcity, no matter how hard you work, you'll keep repeating the same results. But if you align your mind with the frequency of abundance, you start attracting more of it, without chasing, without forcing, just flowing with what has always been yours by divine right. The question isn't whether abundance exists. The question is, are you ready to stop seeing it as something outside of you and start feeling it as your essence? If you were born for abundance, why do we live believing the opposite? Because we were taught a reversed formula. First feel, then have. Have money to feel secure. Have success to feel worthy. Have love to feel complete. But Napoleon Hill whispers a deeper truth. First you must be, then do, and only then will you have. True abundance is not conquered, it's embodied. It's not the result of what you possess, but the result of what you believe. And here comes the paradox that transforms reality. How can I feel abundant if my life right now reflects scarcity? It's like asking someone to smile while crying, or to have faith in the middle of a storm. But that is where both the mystery and the magic are found. Because it's not about denying your current reality. It's about understanding that what you're living now is a reflection, an effect. And if you want a new result, you can't keep being the same cause. The mistake isn't in feeling fear or frustration. The mistake is believing those feelings are permanent. Abundance begins when you choose to change your frequency, even when your bank account is empty. When you choose to walk with dignity, even when the world doesn't recognize you. When you choose to give thanks in advance, even if the miracle hasn't shown up yet. Napoleon Hill explained it this way. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Not faith in a religion, but faith in yourself, in your mind, in your ability to vibrate higher, even when the world shouts the opposite. Abundance, then, is not having more. It's remembering you are already more than enough. If abundance is our nature, why is it so hard for so many to experience it? Because between you and abundance, there is no physical distance, only energetic interference, internal blocks, emotional states that act like clouds, hiding the sun that is already shining inside you. And these blocks don't disappear by ignoring them. They transform through awareness. The first great block is fear. Fear of losing. Fear of not having. Fear that it won't be enough. This fear disguises itself as prudence, but in reality, it's inherited programming. an old voice that says, "It's not safe to have a lot. If I win, I'll lose it. If I shine, someone will try to put me out." Napoleon Hill was clear about this. Fear is just faith turned upside down. Faith in a negative outcome. Another big block is constant comparison. We believe that if others succeed, there's less left for us. We measure ourselves by someone else's standard and forget that abundance is not a competition. It's a frequency. Insecurity is also a heavy anchor. It makes us doubt our worth. It convinces us we don't deserve more. It makes us settle for crumbs when we could be sitting at the banquet. And then there's the trap of desperate effort, the idea that everything must cost sweat, sacrifice, and endless struggle. But here's the truth. When you vibrate in scarcity, your energy contracts. You think small, you decide from fear, and you attract more of the same. It's like trying to make a flower grow while you're stepping on it. Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But if your mind is filled with thoughts of lack, your energy is planting seeds that will never bloom." So, what do? The first step is to observe, without guilt, without judgment, just with honesty. Notice when you're operating from scarcity. Recognize which emotions dominate you. Identify the thoughts that keep repeating in your head like a broken record. And when you see them, don't reject them. Thank them, because they've come to show you the frequency you've been broadcasting. And only when you see it can you choose something new. To truly understand abundance, we must stop thinking of it as a thing and begin to see it as a frequency. Yes, like a radio station. You can be tuned to the scarcity station, or you can change the dial and tune into the abundance station. What you tune into, you experience. To help you visualize this, think of water. In essence, water is always the same, but its form changes according to its vibration. When it vibrates slowly, it becomes ice, rigid, dense, limited. At a medium vibration, it's liquid, adaptable, flowing. At a high vibration, it's vapor. Free, expansive, impossible to contain. That same analogy applies to your consciousness. Scarcity vibrates dense. Abundance vibrates high. Scarcity is ice. Abundance is vapor. They're not different things. They're the same you, at different frequencies of thought, emotion, and awareness. Napoleon Hill understood this long before science could explain it. He taught that everything we are begins with a thought. And that thought, sustained with emotion, becomes our reality. Your mind is the generator of your frequency. Your emotions are the fuel. Where are you focusing your attention day after day? If you focus on what's missing, on what you don't have, on what you can't do, you're vibrating as ice. But if you focus on what is, on what you can do, on what's already present, you're vibrating as vapor. And in that state, opportunities flow to you. Ideas emerge. Coincidences happen. Because it's not about forcing. It's about aligning. When you change your frequency, everything that matches that new frequency begins to find you. It's not magic. It's energetic coherence. And here's a concept many ignore. You cannot hold two frequencies at the same time. You can't be in scarcity mode and expect abundance results. You can't think in fear and attract freedom. You can't look at the ground and expect to fly. As an old proverb says, you cannot sit on two chairs at once. At every moment, you're choosing a frequency, and that choice determines your experience. That's why it's not about forcing your outer reality to change. It's about elevating your inner energy. The universe does not respond to your words. It responds to your vibration. Everything you experience outside is a reflection of what you're holding inside. That's called the law of the mirror, one of the most ignored yet powerful spiritual laws. Napoleon Hill understood it perfectly, which is why he insisted again and again on the importance of thought as the cause. Every achievement, every fortune, every human action begins with an idea. That idea is born within you, and then reflected outside you. Just like a mirror can't show you a smile unless you smile first. The universe can't show you abundance unless you hold it first in your consciousness. Jesus said it in Matthew 13:12. For whoever has, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. Whoever doesn't have, even what they have will be taken from them. It sounds harsh, but it's not, when you understand it vibrationally. It's not about having things, it's about having awareness. When you vibrate in, I already have, you attract more of that. When you vibrate in, I don't have, the universe amplifies that lack. And this is where the difference lies, between vibrational possession and physical possession. Physical possession is what you can see, touch, count. Vibrational possession is what you can feel, embody, sustain internally, even if it hasn't yet arrived in physical form. And here's the most transformative paradox of all. You must believe it before you see it, not the other way around. Believing is the highest act of creation, because your faith is not just hope, it's a frequency. It's as if the universe says, if you act as if you already have it, I will deliver it to you. But if you wait to have it before you believe, you will keep waiting forever. This is one of the most common mistakes that stop people from manifesting abundance. They think they need proof to change their state, when in reality, it's the state that generates the proof. So next time you want something in your life, don't ask, how do I get it? Ask, how do I become the person who already has it? Because in this universe, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Because this is where true transformation begins. Not when you try to change your external world, but when you become the observer of your internal world. Napoleon Hill spoke about the importance of mastering the mind, but that mastery doesn't begin with control. It begins with awareness. Observation is the first real act of power. It's stopping for a moment, looking at yourself with complete honesty and asking, from what state am I operating today? Listen to your thoughts. Watch your emotions. Feel your impulses. Not to judge them, but to understand them. Because as long as you don't observe your inner programming, you'll keep living on autopilot, repeating the same emotions, the same thoughts, the same decisions, and therefore the same results. It's like driving with your eyes closed and complaining about the road. Abundance requires presence, and presence begins with observation. When you can see the thought of scarcity arise and not identify with it. When you can feel anxiety and not let it carry you away. When you can hear that inner voice say, it's not possible, and calmly respond, thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose something different. Then you have become the creator, and that changes everything. Because here's a great truth. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your fears. You are the awareness that can observe it all and choose differently. Napoleon Hill put it this way. The first step toward riches is a definite desire, backed by faith, sustained with persistence. But before desire comes awareness, and before awareness comes observation. So give yourself this gift. Observe yourself today, without guilt, without hurry, without judgment. Because in that simple act, you're beginning to take your power back. Now that you've started to observe your patterns, it's time for something even more powerful. consciously reprogramming yourself for abundance. Remember, it's not enough to identify the pattern of scarcity. You must replace it with a higher one. Here's where practical techniques come in. The first, and perhaps most transformative, is conscious gratitude. I'm not talking about repeating thank you as a hollow obligation. I'm talking about feeling gratitude, closing your eyes and truly connecting with what is already right in your life, even if it's small, even if it seems insignificant. Because gratitude is a magnet. Napoleon Hill knew it when he said, "A positive mental attitude is the foundation of all riches." Gratitude reprograms your attention. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you train yourself to see what is abundant, and what you recognize expands. Another powerful technique is what I call conscious selective perception, deliberately choosing what you want to see in your environment. Do you see traffic, or an opportunity to listen to an audiobook that elevates your mind? Do you see negative news, or the perfect moment to unplug and reconnect with yourself? The external world is a reflection of your focus, and what you focus on grows. Then there's a practice often misunderstood, but deeply powerful: living in the feeling of already having. This is not just visualization. It's living within yourself, as if you were already that version of you who lives in abundance. It's not about faking it. It's about creating a vibrational bridge. Close your eyes and imagine. How would you walk if you knew abundance was guaranteed? How would you breathe if scarcity no longer existed in your consciousness? How would you love if you already felt complete? Napoleon Hill called it autosuggestion, feeding your subconscious with creative thoughts. Every time you immerse yourself emotionally in that state of "I already have," you are planting new roots. You are telling the universe, "I'm ready, I'm aligned, I'm vibrating at the right frequency." And here's another technique that may sound counterintuitive: generosity. Yes, giving. Not because you have a lot, but because you recognize that what flows through you never runs out. Generosity from scarcity creates fear, but generosity from trust creates expansion. And it's not always about money. You can give time, energy, attention, listening, inspiration, intention. When you give from the certainty that there is more than enough, you are declaring to the universe, "I am a channel of abundance, not its limit." A technique that completely shifts your programming, seeing possibilities where others see limits. When something seems like an obstacle, ask yourself, what opportunity is this showing me? What resource have I not yet noticed? The language of abundance is possibility, and those who train their minds to ask these questions open doors others didn't even know existed. Up until now, we've talked about vibration, mental patterns, and reprogramming, but there's a central truth that supports all of this, and Napoleon Hill said it clearly. The cause of your wealth or your poverty is in your mind, not in the economic system, not in your boss, not in the country where you were born, but in your state of consciousness. And this is a truth that can either hurt you or set you free forever. Because as long as you believe the causes of your life are outside of you, you'll remain a victim of circumstances. But the moment you accept that your consciousness creates your reality, you become the architect of your destiny. Everything you see in your physical world is an effect. Your finances, your relationships, your health, your opportunities. All are external expressions of an internal state. It's like looking in a mirror. You can't change the reflection without changing what the mirror is reflecting. And yet most people focus only on the effects. They want more money, so they work more hours. They want love, so they try harder to be accepted. They want health, so they buy products without changing their lifestyle. But they forget. Every effect has a cause. And if the cause stays the same, the effect will too. Napoleon Hill expressed it through his principle of autosuggestion. The subconscious mind, when fed dominant ideas, thoughts, and emotions, cannot avoid manifesting them in your external reality. It's a law as exact as gravity. And like all laws, it works whether you believe it or not. The question is not whether the law is working. The real question is, from what consciousness are you operating right now? From fear, from lack, from I can't, or from inner security, from certainty that life is on your side, from I already am and I already have. When you change your consciousness, you're not just changing your thinking. You're changing your point of energetic emission. And when the frequency changes, the results inevitably change. But there's something you must understand. This change is not always immediate. There is what we might call a gestation period, a space of apparent silence, where it seems nothing is happening, and yet everything is rearranging. This is the moment where many give up, right before crossing the threshold of manifestation. That's why Napoleon Hill spoke of persistence as an essential virtue. Most people are closest to success when they give up than at any other time. Keep your consciousness aligned, even if there are no signs outside. Trust the cause, because the effects always come. If you've made it this far, I want to remind you of something important. Abundance is not something you must chase. It is something you already are. No matter how much you've believed you're lacking, how many times you've failed, how much you've been conditioned, abundance was always inside you. It only needed to be remembered. Today, you took a step. Today, you awakened a code. And that code is not external. It's the Napoleon Hill code that reminds you, you are the cause, you are the channel, you are the source. So don't leave without applying this, because knowing it doesn't change your life. Using it does. Tell me in the comments, in what area of your life are you already feeling abundance? And if this message lit something inside you, share it, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Not for ego, but because together we are creating a new consciousness. See you soon.